Hello and welcome back to TLDW, the show where I sum up movies in a short amount of time. It's Barbie week! It's Barbie week! So of course, I had to pick one of the 41 Barbie movies to cover. How did I do that? I asked people who'd seen them, and this one is apparently the best one. We are doing Barbie as the Princess and the Pauper. I've had to watch this movie twice and it looks like shit. Let's go! We've got two main characters here. Princess Annalise and Erica. You may not know this, but they look identical. I don't think they do look identical. Maybe it's the hair. But when her hair turns into blonde, she looks like that. So they live different lives. Princess obviously lives a very luxurious life, a very happy life. She eats out of the dirt. No, she doesn't, but she is an indentured servant because her parents owed this woman, Madame Carp, who I have a picture of. Her parents owed Madame Carp a lot of money, and so she's working to pay off that debt. So that's fun. So, the royal mine is out of gold. So the Queen's very stressed. The Queen's very, very stressed because she's like, if there's no gold, how are we going to make our money? So her plan is to marry off the princess to King Dominic, who's a very wealthy king, and be like, we'll combine our two nations into one so you get our debt. These two have a little song about how, life's tough. We both have it really rough. You know, me, very rich woman, me, eating out of the dirt. We both have it rough. We just both want to be free. Me, free from too much money, free from no money and wanting to die. So in the meantime, while those two are having a little sing-song when they could be, you know, doing anything else, these two, their names are Nick and Nack. This one's the smart one, this one's a fucking idiot. They're stealing gold from the gold mine. This lad, this is the Queen's royal advisor, Preminger. He's voiced by Martin Shaw. That's insane. Martin Shaw, star of the Santa Claus 3, was in this movie. So his plan is he's like, I'm going to take all the gold so that, you know, the Queen and everyone's going to die of like bankruptcy or whatever. And then I'll marry the princess. Then I'll be king. These two let him know that, oh, by the way, the princess is going to marry a king. And he's like, bitch, what the fuck? I've only been missing for like a week. And she's marrying someone else? Not having it. See, I'm going to kidnap the princess so the wedding gets cancelled and then I'll marry her. Meanwhile, there's a little side plot between this dog, who's called Midas, and this cat, who's called Serafina. These two are just scuffling for a bit. They just scuffle for a bit. Will they scuffle some more? Yes. Basically, the king's visiting for a bit, but they're like, nah, we're gonna sneak away. So they're gonna go into town. And who do they meet in town? Because this, oh, by the way, I forgot to mention, this is Julian. This is the princess's best friend. So these two are heading into town. Who do they meet? Why? It's this bitch, of course. It's Erica. Erica with a very talented singing voice. She's doing a big sing. And they're like, wow, what a big sing you're doing. So she's like, yeah, I'm a bit of a singer. Oh wait, we could be twins. And he's like, oh my God, you could be twins. Anyway, we're gonna hang out for a bit. I make all your dresses, but I work for, you know, Madame Carp and she's horrible. She's like, oh man, I love your dresses. Good thing that your boss is so nice. And she's like, it's not. So no, it's fine. And then they head back to the castle. While they were doing all that, there was a little side plot because there's another cat in this film. Midas is chasing Serafina down, but Erica's cat, Wolfie, who acts like a dog, I love him, scares Midas away. He gets scared away and they're like, oh, maybe one day we'll fuck. They do. They have a lot of babies by the end of the film, so canonically, these two had sex. Oh, and I forgot to mention, this is important. This is very important. She has a birthmark on that shoulder that looks like a crown. That will come up later. So they lure Serafina into a trap using a mouse. So Serafina gets stuck in a trap and then they use Serafina to lure the princess into a trap. And then they bag her up and they sling her over their shoulder and they march over to a little house out in the prairie and they've got her captured. Once they get there, they shove her in and they get rid of Serafina because who cares about a cat? And Serafina talks to the horse. The horse is called Hervé and he's French. This is what he looks like. She talks to the horse and convinces him to sort of help her out. She gets on the back of Hervé. Hervé's like, I could never launch you onto the roof, you fair maiden. She's like, well, what if I did this? And stabs him and he's like, oh, fuck! Launches her up onto the roof. She goes down through the chimney, helps the princess escape because she pretends to be a ghost by holding up a sheet and scares the goons, and these two manage to escape. So these goons are like, ah, fuck, we let her escape. And Hervé's like, I'm a horse. But while that's happening, everyone back at the palace is like, the princess has disappeared. She left a note being like, I'm not gonna marry the king, even though it would save our kingdom, and I'm a selfish bastard, and oh, I'm not a man who wrote this and pretending to be the princess. It was a man pretending to be the princess. This is everyone's in the palace. Queen's like, oh man, my daughter's gone. Preminger's like, I found this letter, your majesty. Says that thing that I said just now about leaving the palace or whatever. Julian gives it a big old sniff, just goes, Doesn't smell like her. She must have been kidnapped. Doesn't say that out loud, obviously. Also, the king's there. That's King Dominic. He's just like hanging out, being like, "This is a bit weird." And then his employee is like, "If she doesn't show up by the end of the day, the wedding will be cancelled." He's like, "Okay, sure, whatever." So Julian's like, well, you know what would solve this? Because I'm pretty sure she's been kidnapped, probably by Preminger. So I'm going to try and bait him out by bringing back the lookalike. He's going to head into town and pick up Erica. Erica doesn't look like the princess until she puts on a blonde wig, and then bam, that's what she looks like. Princess. So what they do is he just sneaks her in, gets her disguised, and she pretends to be the princess. She's not the best at it. And meanwhile, Preminger's like, sus. So he goes back to check on where the princess has been captured, but obviously she's already escaped. So he's like, but why didn't she mention that she was kidnapped? Why was she just like, oh, I did run away. Must be an imposter. And while that's happening, obviously, Erica's still disguised somewhere. But Julian follows Preminger, gets himself fucking kidnapped. He's gone. He's been kidnapped. He's not dead. So the princess goes to the castle and they're like, "You're obviously not the princess. I just saw the princess having food. Go away, you little freak." She's like, "But I am." And they're like, "No, fuck off." So she goes back to town. Madam Carp sees her and she's like, "Oh, you, get back to work, you fucking cow." That's pretty much what she said. I may have ad-libbed a bit, and she's like, "I'm the princess." And she's like, "No, you're not, you stupid cow." And she's very much not happy with the way Carp is treating her employees. So she's like, "If you don't fix this, we're going to take our royal business elsewhere." She's like, "You stupid fucking cow. I don't give a fuck, quite frankly, what you're saying." So in the meantime, Erica's back at the palace, hanging out with Dominic. They're starting to fall in love. Oh, I forgot to mention, Princess found the cat, gave the cat a little thing from Madame Carp's shop, sent the cat back to the palace to go and get Julian, who wasn't there. But old Preminger fucking captures that cat. Then Preminger goes back here to see where the princess is. And she's like, "Oh my God, Preminger, you're saving me." And then he's like, "Nope, kidnapping you." Takes her to a mine shaft. Meanwhile, Hervé lets out Serafina, who buggers off for a bit. We'll see her later. Madame Carp, don't need to worry about her anymore. Guess who else is in the mine shaft? It's goddamn Julian. So they're in the mine shaft right now. Rough times. All the characters are coming out now. It's the Queen time. So this is happening back at the castle. Meanwhile, the animals are doing some rescuing at some point. They'll get to that. So Preminger's like, "Erica's the imposter. She doesn't have a birthmark." She doesn't have a birthmark. So she's in prison. She'll get out though in like 5 minutes. Don't worry about it. Meanwhile, back here, all the animals are helping these two escape. But the way they escape is there's a mine shaft going out of the mine upwards. And they manage to basically flood the whole mine shaft and use the water to push themselves up and out. And they ride Hervé back to the palace. And also, she sings her way out of prison. And also, Preminger's like, "Look, I've got gold. Your princess is dead." Forgot, yeah, he got her ring and is like, your daughter's dead. "But you should marry me because I've got money." And she's like, "Oh, yeah, go on then, fine, whatever." So they're getting married, but then these two have escaped. Erica manages to get herself out with the help of King Julian in disguise, who doesn't really do much. She was already out, but he's just kind of there. It's quite cool that she manages to rescue herself and doesn't really need help. Also, while they're getting out, I forgot to mention, while they're escaping, the princess is like, "I have feelings for you, Julian." He's like, "But why? I'm just a common person." And she's like, "Well, you look boring on the outside, but on the inside, you're made of diamonds." And she finds like loads of geodes, and they're like, that's how they're gonna save the kingdom, is using crystals, not gold. They all get out, they all go to the wedding, and they stop it. Preminger arrested, little fucker. And then they use the crystals they got from the mine shaft to bring the kingdom back to its wealth and prosperity. She goes off to sing for a bit, and then she's like, "Oh, sometimes being free means not choosing to leave, but choosing to stay. I'm gonna go marry a king." So then these two get married, and these two get married. These two fucking have a load of babies. And that's it. That is Barbie as the Princess and the Pauper. This kind of has broken me a bit, because now I wanna watch all of the other ones and see if they're as surprisingly good, and then I want to rank them. So maybe we'll get to that at some point. But thank you for watching this episode of TLDW. I do hope you enjoyed, and if you have any film ideas, just leave them in the comments below. A whole bunch of spots have opened up on the schedule, and I'd love to fill them with your ideas. That was it. Enjoy these pictures. I'm just gonna go over there. There's a biscuit waiting for me over there. And yeah, have a good one.